thanks very much for coming by the den and looking at this reveal of a new set of game scenery for Descent Legends of the Dark. Now, many of you would have made your way to this because you're already familiar with the game. Some of you may have just dropped in and are perhaps looking at the game. So a little overview of what this is all about. So Descent has been around for quite a number of years in a theme from Fantasy Flight. There was Descent 1, not familiar with that. There was Descent 2, which required like an overlord to play, and then they went and brought out an additional Journeys in the Dark Road to Legend, which introduced an app play system, which enable you to play solo, which is great for me because I don't have any friends and everything. So we all dashed out and bought everything possible for this particular version, which is all parked up over there, and now has become collector's items. Suddenly they then reinvent it and bring out Descent Legends of the Dark. And by the way, this is Act 1, so we know where that's going to go. Anything to do with Fantasy Flight, you're going to be paying out for add-ons for some considerable years to come. This, once again, is very app-based. Most people got me a disadvantage. I have only had this game a short time and been busy actually making the scenery for it, as opposed to playing it. So I'm sure people can put things in the comments if I sort of trip up on some bits. So the difference with this and the other Descent games, although there was a little bit of scenery in the other Descent games, there was some hedgerows, there was some doors, standee doors, metal and wood and stone and things. So there was little standees, but vast majority of the scenery was actually printed on the boards and things like that. So, and you made an assumption from that. So, but on this turn round, they decided that they were going to make scenery which is interacted with, creates line of sight issues, and I think I read in the app that, you know, you can interact with a piece of scenery which may give you gifts or parts or things like that. So I haven't got that far in it, but I'm sure that as you do that, that's the reason for the scenery. However, they didn't go out and do printed plastic scenery or anything like that. They came up with the idea of punchboard cardboard. So you have cardboard scenery, which you then make up and make into things like there's a tree, and that is a stone arch, and all these things, objects have a thing in the game. Then we have a cauldron there, and we have bookcases and pillars and iron gateways and all those sort of things so that all the scenery in the game is actually represented cardboard, which you build yourselves. Now, a lot of people have had issue with that. They can come apart, especially the dragon there, that beast there. Oh look, it's already coming apart. So bits do come off, and a lot of people have resorted to gluing them to stay that way, which is fine, okay. But whilst they serve a purpose, they don't exactly give you that level of immersion in the build. And one of the things, this is very similar to the scenery that the Forge started making for Journeys to Middle-earth, in Middle-earth, for their Lord of the Rings theme. And their scenery there was very based on this sort of thing. You know, there was bits of scenery in there that had to do with the game and so on, and that was quite popular. Now, as you notice with that, there's going to be a lot of add-ons as it goes through on this to bring it up to speed, and there's going to be more and more added pieces. But what that doesn't do, what the cardboard scenery doesn't really do, doesn't give you that level of 3D, and subsequently this was ideal to make these into proper 3D printed components, which you can then paint and dress the way you like. So in this collection, I've represented all the elements that were in the game. So for instance, let's find something in here that gives it away. Oh, we've got the, oh gosh, what was I looking for here? Oh, there we are. So that is the spikes, the wooden spikes on there, and there's lots of photographs on the site for these and that. But that is the 3D spikes. So there's a big difference thing. And I think one of the things about investing in the scenery for this is that this is going to grow. It's going to get much, much bigger. We know how Fantasy Flight works in the whether they'll have add-ons. It says Act 1 on here. I wouldn't be surprised if not in the next few months we start hearing reveals about Act 2. There's going to be extra monsters. It's going to be as big as, if not bigger, than the previous Descent, Journeys in the Dark. So, and the only thing was, whilst these are pretty much mapped to represent those, it's things like that is the cardboard cupboard, bookshelf, and that is the bookshelf that was printed. So there is a slight change in heights and things like that. There has been some changes, and especially so that was the dragon. That was the dragon cardboard, and whilst looking at that, I really didn't. You know, it was difficult to remodel that as it was, and it would have made quite a big model, and the bigger the models are, and that would probably have to be quite a bit of resin, it really just pushes the pricing point up, and that's not really what you want. So I went for a more cave type, so half dragon head there. Now once again, lots of pictures of this and dressed it accordingly. Okay, we're going to go through all the bits and pieces in a minute from there. So this set, like I say, covers all the cardboard components that were already in the game. And also, as an addition, I thought, right, well, I quite like the site markers. Now, the site markers in the game are once again cardboard discs. But I thought, well, let's do a plate of 3D ones. So that's some site markers there. And some interacts as well. I'm sure people are going to come up with some different colour schemes. Not the best painter in the world, but that's it. So, once again, this is all printed out, and if anybody knows previous collections from the Forge, we always do a nice selection of resin prints. Now, resin is a bit more expensive and so on, so that makes a big difference. But some of these models had to be resin, and certainly the chests. So there was a couple of really nice chests there. They had to be printed in resin to keep that detail. Obviously, the dragon's head is a two-part resin. I'm going to we'll cut to what's in the set in a minute to give you some background, because I was going to do a workshop video to support this, but a lot of the things we put out before on YouTube to do with resin and prepping it and everything like that is already out there. So rather than repeat it, you can find all those videos on the YouTube channel about prepping minis and resins and things like that. So, and also things like the cauldron, where you've got nice detail of the cauldron coming through there. We've got the book, the altar there, is it, with a little book and some candles on for there. So, and the well as well. So there's a lovely little well that's got like a broken roof. That's printed in resin, and to keep that fine detail, very nice. To do everything in resin would be too cost prohibitive, and obviously we want to get this out to as many players as possible, and this collection will grow. When they bring out another act, they will no doubt bring out more bits of scenery. There is a lot of opportunity here. We will be bringing out packs of scenery that can, you know, mix things up a bit, so there's an alternative. So we've got our doors there and things. So yeah, so there is the collection. Lots and lots of detail and photographs on the site and so on. So lots of links there. We've got a Facebook page which I'll put the links in for. Please pop over and join the group there. That's all like-minded scenery people. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to cut back, set up, and come back with show you exactly what you get in the box and what you're expected to do with it. Alright, okay, see you in a minute. Okay, so this is the box of stuff that you'll be getting. This is, you don't get the box, by the way. but there's a lot of things in here. So we're going to go through some of the components, some of the things to look out for. Once again, there's lots of videos on the channel, on the YouTube channel, which I'll put the links in, that you can have a look at, that follow the lines of all the different types of scenery that we do. So there's nothing really different in it, but there are a few nuances with this particular set that we need to take on board, but everything else is pretty much covered in preparation and so on. So first thing you'll notice is that there is a variety of colours. That's because the way that we buy the raw product in, it has to come in sort of, you know, we sort of factor in a number of different colours, so they will come in with a few different colours, I'm afraid, and we can't specify, so I do put that in instructions. However, this is PLA. This is the sort of staple 3D printing type plastic, pretty robust on there, so that's what we have there. Now you will notice one of the things with this, and it can be variety, there will be a little bit of a clean-up. This particular arch, for instance, has a little bit of overhang there, so the print is sort of little sort of swirly bits, or not a great deal, but a little sharp X-O knife will just take those out. In fact, to be honest with you, I left mine in. I felt that they helped create a sort of a bit of an overhang, because I'd sort of dressed, and what I mean by dressing, I mean putting on the moss and bits of stone and things like that. So I quite like leaving some of that, and that went for the trees as well. You probably, I mean, I do try and clean off as much as I can, but we come in called stringing, with the very, very fine hair-like filaments can appear. They don't appear on all of them. But in the trees, for instance, I quite like them, leaving them there. They're sort of dead, barren trees and a bit of wispy stuff going on. And as you can see, in that, for instance, that's a dressed one, and I left those in, and I thought they just made a little bit more texture. However, they are very easy to scrape off. There isn't a huge amount of it, but you could come across that. So that's it. Now, preparation. What do we spray with? There are lots of people asking about spraying and so on. I did cover this in. Quite honestly, I just get rattle cans. I'll get automotive acrylic or cheap rattle cans from supermarkets and things like that. I don't go out and buy super expensive stuff, and this is absolutely perfect for what I need it for. And a few coats of undercoat on for whatever you fancy. I mean, if it was this stonework, I'd be probably painting this in a dark grey. Used to paint them in black and then dry brush them in grey. That's one way round on it, or you might go for a sandstone. Entirely up to you how you want to approach that. But so certainly undercoating throughout all the collection. In here, those are the wooden doors. Your portcullis doors will need to be, they come in two halves, and they will need to be matched up and super glued. Okay, or other proprietary glues are available. Okay, and very little cleanup on there. It's because they're printed flat like that, you see. Otherwise we'd have to be digging out overhang in the middle. So they will glue together very nicely and match up and then be freestanding from there. So you're going to have to glue those together. Everything else is okay from that perspective. Okay, so moving on to what we call the resins. So this is made in a completely different process, and that's why the detail on these is exceptional. Now, let's take, for instance, now you'll notice that they have supports. Those are the little thin support pieces. They just clip them off. Now, once again, have a look at the video I did on resins to do with the minis that we produce, which I print, and the principle's the same. I will not put these in a final UV until I've clipped them. It just leaves the material a little softer. It's not, to be honest with you, it's not a bother with the chest, because it's only support on there. So, and then you can leave them out in the sun. A little bit of sunlight hardens them up and so on. But that's your chest. They'll need clipping off on underneath there. The other things you'll be getting on there, of course, is a well. In the way that they're supported and printed, they'll have lots around there, but that's not a bad clip off to do for that one. And the cauldron and the book stand, lectern. Okay. These are fairly straightforward ones, but please take care with them and just clip them round, and you'll get those off. And once again, those will need undercoating. Now, the Dragon has 3 parts to it. You've got the PLA base, which is there, and then you've got the 2 halves of the Dragon. Why 2 halves, you say? Well, it wouldn't fit on, because SLA printers are very, well, I have only small plate sizes. I'm sure there might probably be bigger ones now. It had to be split in half, but they do match up perfectly. Quite a bit of support going on in there, but that will unclip quite quickly, and then you literally super glue the 2 halves together, and be careful of matching them up correctly. And some of the pillars that extend beyond that are actually formulated on the actual item, and that is the one that I did. I did sort of, there is a sort of a line in there which I filled in and things, but yeah, there we are, and actually makes a really nice model. So you've got the clipping out of that. Also in there you have a big bag of the tokens we were talking about, the interact and the site tokens. Let's just crack that open there. Once again, very little to do on there. The site tokens will just push fit in, and simple as that, and so do the interact, but they'll probably just need a bit of super glue. So once again, a bit of super glue on there, and then you can mount those and spray them. So that is the collection, everything that you need. There's a lot of stuff there. There's in fact 69 pieces of them. For anybody eagle-eyed, that is the old style. Well, nobody gets that one anymore. It's the one with the broken roof. It's just that this is what was printed to hand. There we are. Okay, so that's good. Right, okay, so that's everything. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions, please send them over to me, and we'll look forward to producing something for you again soon. Take care now. Bye.